Welcome on everybody to DMSN Digital Ministry Support Network. This is your Tuesday bite. I don't know what it is, but it's our time together where we do some training. We give you some great tech. We hook you up with some great advice and counsel so that you can get your ministry moving in the right direction. And today I've got the awesome pleasure of being with Pastor Emmanuel Ogui. Hey, Eman, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing, Nikki?
Great, bro. Great. Listen, we thought of you coming on here because you are one of the pastors who is very tech savvy. You work with production. You do it on a church level, and you're doing. We were just talking about this. You do a million things that people don't see on the back end. They just come and enjoy a program because you did your work right.
Yeah, man. I mean, I love doing it. I mean, it's ministry. People don't see it as ministry,
Yeah,
but it's ministry, right?
absolutely,
It's what helps get the gospel out there. And so I
for
love doing
sure.
it, and I'm glad to be able to help in any way that I can.
You know what's funny, bro, is that if you are rocking hard, if you're doing your thing, if you're doing it just right, nobody should notice a thing. It's when
Exactly.
you it's when it's when you don't do something at its highest peak that somebody will notice. Isn't that's kind of backwards? Like nobody says, "Man, that was amazing that all those transitions were so smooth and your videos were great and the picture and the white balance was perfect." Nobody says that. They'll only notice it if it's not. So,
Dude, that's so true. And I hadn't thought about it that in terms of this. I mean, you
yeah.
think about it when you're in the church building, something goes wrong with the microphone, right? And you see all the heads turning around to
Everybody,
the
every
sound
head turns.
guy,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
exactly.
The lyrics come off the screen, and you see everyone turning back. You're right. I hadn't seen it that way, but you're right. You're so right.
This is it. Well, thank you for joining us today, man. And for all of you guys, this is going to be a real treat. If you happen to be jumping on live, feel free to drop a comment or ask a question while E-Man is on. If you're watching this on a replay, drop a comment anyways. We'll see the comment come through, and we will try to field your questions and create more dialogue. Because the whole point of this is for us to help each other out. Each pastor here has a gift that they can share with another pastor to help your ministries. E-Man, the time is yours, bro.
Awesome. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. So, one thing that I wanted to share is kind of take you through the workflow of what we do at our church uh, to to do our church service on Sabbath. Um, at the moment, we're not actually streaming, but just because we're not streaming doesn't mean that our workflow isn't conducive for streaming. We're pre-recording, but the way we set everything up, the way we connect the wires, and the way we capture all the images of all the cameras and things like that, um, it is essentially like we would do it if we were streaming. All we would have to do to stream is literally click a button, and that's it, and we'd be streaming. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit of the gear that we have. Um, Kind of how we connect one thing to another, and yeah, and then go from there. And if you have questions, maybe answer some of them. If I have the answers, um, I'm not an expert. I know a lot of stuff, but I'm not an
You have
expert.
the answers, E-Man.
So if I have the answers, I'll definitely be able to answer them. But if not, we can definitely do some research, come back, and give you whatever we find. But yeah, the first thing I want to go ahead and look at is the type of cameras that we use. Currently, we're using some Canon. It's not your standard personal camcorder. It's a more of a professional recording camcorder. We're using the Canon XA40. We have three of those that we use, and we use different shots with each one. And the reason why we got those XA40 was when we bought them. The purpose for buying them is we were going to be streaming from our church building. We were gonna set them up, at strategic places around the stage and things like that. And these cameras, what we learned in our research and also in using them for the past maybe 6 months, I think we've been using them now, um, is that they work really well in low lighting. So if you're recording on a stage where you can't have all the studio lights on the person, this camera does really well in that sort of environment. And
And
so
churches are
we did.
notorious for having bad lighting.
Yes. The church stage is so dim for some
Oh,
reason.
yeah.
Yeah, and so because the building we were at was not ours, we didn't have the say as to how much lights we could bring and do that. So we decided to get these cameras because that's what we could control. So we can control the camera that has low lighting or does well in low lighting. So we went ahead and got those. Uh, they're not too expensive when it comes to cameras. 14.99 for a camera that can record in 4K is really good. It records in 4K. It outputs to stream in 1080. That's the max that it does, but it records in 4K. So if you want to use it just to record, it's a really great camera to record. Um, the other camera that I have listed on there, and the one that's right underneath it, is the Canon XA45. It's essentially the same camera, almost down to everything except for the fact that this one has an SDI output. And the reason that's important is because depending on how far you're placing the cameras from your switcher, you need to have the ability to send the signal out through different types of cables, different types of um, what do you call them? Frequencies, if you will, right? To get the I don't know what I did there. I'm sorry. There we go. To get the signal out to where you need it to be. So right now, because we got the ones that do not have an SDI um, output, we have to use an adapter and an extender to kind of get our signal out. But the XA45 already has that included, so you literally get the SDI cable, you plug it in, and you can send it hundreds of feet without losing any quality, without having the camera flicker or things like that. So when it comes to cables, what we do is we right now we use an SDI cable, right? So what we if we have them further than about 10, 15 feet, we have to use an SDI cable. HDMI cables don't tend to do too well in that distance. They'll work, but they'll start flickering, or you'll notice they'll shut off. Just they'll go black and come back on real quick. And so because of that, we use SDI cables to send the signal. So the way we do it, I don't know if you can see my mouse. I don't think you can. The bottom picture there, that's and I'm sorry if you guys hear my cat. He's crying.
Cats
Um,
are always welcomed here, bro. It's all good.
um, so he the bottom picture there on the screen is mini HDMI to HDMI adapter. The cameras come with that adapter. It doesn't have a full size HDMI output, so you have to use that adapter. And once we use that adapter, then if we're using just HDMI switch to the switcher, we have them really close. We just use that a cable that has one end mini HDMI, the other end HDMI, and right into the switcher. If we have to go a little further, then we'll use the picture that's there. It has the female end on for the HDMI, and we connect an HDMI cable to that. And depending how far we are, we either run that straight to the switcher, or um, we connect it to a converter that will convert the HDMI signal to be sent over SDI, which SDI is the cables up there that you see in the picture at the top. Those the signal through those cables can go hundreds of feet. Right now we have 100 feet, 100-foot cables, and they work without a problem. We can have them literally to the 100 feet as far as it can go, and we haven't had any issues with them. So that's one way to get her. And the cables aren't really that expensive. Another way you can do it is you can do an HDMI extender, but you have to run an Ethernet cable, and it might take a little more work. This one you just get the SDI cable, and it runs straight to the switcher we have. It has SDI inputs, so it literally runs straight into the switcher that way. So we don't have to get an adapter on the other end. So what we do is we bring in the signal to the converter. We bring in the HDMI input into that converter, and the other end is an SDI output. So we connect the SDI cable there, and that's what sends the signal out to the switcher, and we're able to send it again hundreds of feet away.
Hey, Eman, I see on the back
Yes,
there an HDMI port, and then I see a USB-C. Is that
good.
USB-C power?
Yes, and I was just about to get to that.
Oh,
So
awesome.
thank you for bringing that up. The only caveat, the only thing about this converter is that it needs to be powered. It doesn't run just without power. It won't. It needs power to send the signal to it. Think about it as an extender, right? You need to power it to send the signal. So it runs on a micro USB. So I don't know if you can see it, micro USB. It's a standard little port. The old Androids used to have those, and so that's what we use to send the signal. What I do is I just buy a whole bunch of these. This is a power bank, and um, I connect it. I charge these up before I use them. One full charge will give me hours of power for that little thing. So I literally
Ooh, pro tip.
get this, hook it up, and then strap it onto the converter and just leave it there running, so they could send the signal out to the switcher through SDI, and we don't have to run into any issues. If you don't have one of these, then you would have to uh, make sure wherever you place the cameras and the converter itself next to an outlet where you can connect the power to power the little device. So that's one of the things that when we were doing the research as to what we were going to buy, we decided to go with this because it's more portable. If you need to be out in a place where you don't have a lot of power outlets, then you just strap this on and you have power to send the signal, whatever way you need it, and it's going to stay powered on for a long time. So that's what we do with the uh, to power on the converter.
Nice.
Now, what we do, or the switcher we have that receives the signals from all three of these computers, we have the ATEM TV switcher. That's the one we have, the HD switcher. It's the 995 one that you see the picture at the top. Um, the reason why we went for this and not for the Mini Pro, which we actually considered when we were going to buy it, is because we knew that our cameras were going to be far from where we're at. So we needed to send the signal through SDI, and if we were going to send the signal through SDI, the Atom Mini Pro doesn't have an SDI input, so we would have to buy another converter on the other end to convert the SDI signal to HDMI to put into the switcher. And when we thought about the price, the versatility that the other one gives us, we decided to go with the more beefed up one, if you will, because we could put in. I think it has 8 or 9 SDI inputs. I think it has like 4 or 5 HDMI inputs, and so it gives us the versatility of being able to connect a lot of things at the same time. The ATEM Mini Pro is another great uh, device because it um, it uh it, it has all the functions of the regular TV switcher, but it's almost half the price, and it gives you all the buttons right there. You can put it on a desk and switch from there, and things like that. So, give me one quick second. I need to close my door. The wind opened my door, and I don't want my cat to get out. So give me one quick second, okay?
No problem. For those of you who might be watching along, I also use a ATEM Mini, and it's really good because for somebody who does production and presenting at the same time, it helps you move through at a really easy, big button sort of way. It also helps to take away some of the power that it pulls from your computer. So if you're running through a capture card, it's going to suck energy from your computer, which may create lag or something like that. And these guys, because they're powered, will take the load off of your computer. Welcome back, E-Man.
Yeah, thank you. And I was actually gonna say that the reason why we use the switcher is because we want that hardware to do the work. We don't want the computer
Nice.
to do the work. You need if you bring in all the video inputs into your computer, now you're having your computer processor and the graphics processor do the work for you instead of having a device that does it for you. The device is specifically made for that, anyways, right? To do that. So the good thing about the switcher is the signal comes in, and you're able to set up a little monitor. We have a monitor where we look at the different camera views. You can bring in proper center if you need to, like to display things like scripture, like song lyrics, whatever you need. And the Atom Mini, or both the both of the atoms have technology or features where you can um, essentially make the lyrics or we're sharing from a presentation software transparent, and so it'll just give you on screen what you wanted to show. Chroma key is one of those ways that you call them. You essentially pick a color, and it essentially once the switcher recognizes that color, it removes it, and so it only leaves everything else and that remains. So that's really good if you want to be streaming, sharing lyrics on the lower thirds. You can bring that in, and have that there as a possibility. And so it gives you so much versatility to be able to do things. You can bring in audio inputs directly into the ATEM switcher also, so that once you send that signal to your computer to stream, um, you're not having to plug in audio into the computer. You just send the whole package directly into the computer. It's audio and video at the same time, and all you do on the computer is just hit record or hit stream, and that's it, and then you're done. Um, the Atom Mini Pro, and correct me if I'm wrong, Icky, because you have this one, we don't have it, so
Mm-hmm.
you've played with it more than we have. I believe it has an output already where you send the USB signal into the computer already, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep.
Okay,
That's
so
correct.
that's the advantage of the Atom Mini Pro. You don't need an encoder anymore. You don't need a capture device anymore. The Atom Mini Pro already does that for you. With the switcher, the TV switcher, it doesn't give us that option. The only output that we can get is as an SDI output. So we need to get another converter on that end to be able to send that signal into a computer to be able to send out the signal to the computer to stream. And that's what this is
Mm-hmm.
that I'm showing right now on the screen. Uh, we have the one at the bottom, and it's discontinued. They don't make it anymore. It's the big Thunderbolt cable that used to come standard on Macs, on Mac Minis.
Right.
Yeah, and so what we did is we almost bought the new one with the USB C, but we were able to get an adapter from Thunderbolt to USB C, and it worked. So because it worked, we said we're gonna keep it. We're not gonna spend any money on it. Instead of spending $100, we spent 20 on a little adapter, and it's worked, and it gives us the same quality. But if you find yourself having the TV switcher, having to get the signal out to the computer, the one at the top, that capture card, the Ultra Studio monitor, that one is really good. It sends the signal out through USB C, and so if you have a Mac, like if you're running Ecamm and you have a Mac or a Mac Mini, those computers will have a USB C standard already on there. So you wouldn't even have to buy another adapter or anything like that. It already come integrated with your computer. So speaking about computers, that's a question that a lot of people are are asking, what computer can I use, or what computer can I buy to make sure, I'm able to get out the information out, to be able to handle all the streaming that we're gonna do. Um, what I would recommend, and I don't have either of these computers, because when we bought our equipment, we bought it literally a couple months right before these came out. And in a way, I was kind of mad that we waited, that we didn't wait a little longer. But then again, we needed the equipment when we bought it, so it kind of it put us in that tricky situation. But um, the one I would have bought if I would have had a little more time to wait, it would have been the Mac Mini with the M1 chip, or the MacBook Pro with the M1 chip. Um, the M1 chip, if you're not familiar with computers, is the processor that comes in the computer. Most Macs before this M1 chip use an Intel processing chip, and so it had multiple cores, quad, 5 cores, 6 cores, 8 cores, whatever, depending on the type of Mac that you had. But the Mac Mini, it's the M1 chip is an Apple processing chip that they made, and it's super super fast. I mean, um, both Icky and I have heard about so many people who are
Hmm.
in tech, who stream, who use these, and have said nothing but good things about this computer. And if you look at the price, right, the Mac Mini starting price with 8 gigabytes of RAM, um, it starts off at $700. That's
That's cheaper
insane.
than phones.
Even, dude, exactly. And for Max, that's an amazing price. And
Absolutely.
then if you add, a little bit more RAM, I think the max you can do is 16 gigs of RAM, and you up the hard drive, you're looking at about $1,000 tops, maybe, um, for a really fast, powerful computer that's going to be able to stream and record and do what you need to do, without too many issues. So that's the one I would recommend. The only caveat with that is you need a screen, so you would have to buy a monitor, and you would have to buy a keyboard and a mouse, because I believe when you buy it, it doesn't come with actually. I know for a fact it doesn't come with it, because when we bought ours, it didn't come with a keyboard or a mouse, so you would have to buy a keyboard and a mouse. And you don't have to get the Apple keyboard and mouse. You can get different ones, that are not Apple, and they work just as well. Some actually work better, depends on your functionality of what you want the mouse to have. But yeah, if you need something portable, if you need to, like us, we needed to buy a laptop because we don't own our building. We have to take our equipment home and back to church every week. So we decided to go for a MacBook. Again, we bought it before the M1 chip, so ours doesn't have that processor. But if we were to buy it now, we'd get one with the M1 chip, and that one starts off at 1299, which, considering how much the the previous version before, when you would max out the RAM, when you max out the processor, and um, the dedicated graphics card, you're looking at a like 5,000, $6,000 machine, versus the MacBook Pro. It starts at 1,200, and as you add stuff, it doesn't get too much pricier than that. It's still more expensive than a PC, um, but depending on the software you're gonna use, you may only be able to use a Mac. Depending on software, you may only be able to use, or you may also be able to use, um, uh, a PC. And when it comes to software, this is the last thing I have to share with you. The one we use is Ecamm. We use Ecamm Live, and so what we do is, again, cameras or wherever they need to be. Um, HDMI adapters to get the HDMI out, SDI, the converter to SDI, SDI to a switcher. Switcher, we take out the SDI to the capture card. The capture card sends a signal via USB, essentially, to the computer, and in the computer, you can use either OBS, which is free. It's a good platform. Nothing against it. It's really really good, especially for a free software. You can set it up to stream directly from there, or if you use a service like Restream when you want to stream to Facebook and YouTube at the same time. Um, you can set it up that way as well, and that one's free. Or you can use Ecamm, where again you set it up the same way you would set up OBS to stream through Restream to Facebook and YouTube. Um, and what these two softwares do is they recognize the input coming in from the capture device as a video and audio input. And so when you open up Ecamm or OBS on your screen, you'll see whatever camera you have selected on the switcher, and you can select different views and stuff like that from the switcher, but it only captures video and audio that you tell it to. And so what we do right now, because we pre-record our service, we do all that process. We bring in the signal into Ecamm, and then we record on Ecamm. And so we have three different cameras as they're running, as the worship is being recorded, as the sermon is being recorded. We have someone there who's switching between the different takes. You know, if we have a camera here, we have a camera there, and we have a camera right next to it, wide, right, or close up, and so we just switch between the different views. And all Ecamm is doing is it's recording whatever the switcher is telling it to record, and it puts it together. When we first started pre-recording, um, we would actually record with three different devices, and so we would take that video footage, put it into our video editing software, and then we'd have to cut uh, as we were editing the different camera views and stuff like that. And it just made the process a whole lot longer, because now instead of actually having one recording that's already cut live, you're having to go in post production. You're cutting. It adds hours to the already busy and time consuming
Hours.
you know and Iggy can attest to this, right? Just having different takes and doing multi-view like that, it takes hours. Number one, you have to sync the audio, right? You have to make sure that when the person's speaking and moving their mouth, it's at the same time that the sound is coming out. Um, and then once you have all those lined up, you have to cut, and it takes so much time. So what we realize is, if we are able to live cut the footage we record, that cuts down on the time that we need for post production. And so that's what we've been doing. We've been able to do it well. We're able to record in high quality. We use studio lighting. I'm not an expert in lighting. I don't even know what type of lighting that we have. I'm not the one who purchased it. Our other pastor, he did some research with one of our colleagues in our conference, actually, who's really good at lighting, and he gave us some suggestions. He came over to where we record, and he said, I suggest you get this light and this light and this light. And then we bought them, and it's improved the quality of our stream, or our recording, if you will, um, after he came and helped us with the lighting. But that's pretty much our workflow. That's kind of what we go through. That's what the steps that we take in order to go and record our services right now. And like I said, because of the way we set up now to record, if we wanted to go live at that moment, all we would have to do on Ecamm is, instead of hit record, we would hit go live, and that's it. And it would go live to the platforms that we choose it to go to. So we wouldn't have to add another step or anything else. The way we have it set up is a way for us to record and also live stream if we wanted to in the same moment, with the same setup, without having to change anything. But that's all I have. Those are the cameras that we use.
Nice.
That's the price that all the equipment that we have in our workflow at the moment. And we're happy with it. We're able to get some good stuff out of what we have.
That's fantastic. So, just for you all to get an idea, this is a excellent mobile setup for a church that right now is mobile. So you might be thinking to yourself, okay, well we're renting too, or we're going through the same situation. How should we set up? This is a great setup, and it's really a high quality setup. Actually, Pastor Eman was sharing that gear is good gear. Yeah, you could use makeshift things. If you can't and you got a DSLR camera you have at home and that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. But if you are a church that's trying to be really stable about having a good online streaming presence, which I don't know about you, Eman, but I cannot insist anymore how important this is right now. I can't be more emphatic about how important it is for you to have a good quality stream for footprint out there.
Yeah, and not just right now, but even when we go back in person,
Yeah,
I think I think online media, digital ministry, is going to be so important. Honestly, it's the future of the church.
it is. The
Think
pandemic
about it.
only helped show us what we needed to do. It just
Exactly,
sped up.
exactly. When you think about it, everything else is online. You have so many people watching YouTube. You have so many people going to Facebook to watch and to get all this information, right? But all of a
Hmm.
sudden, the churches aren't there because they don't have the equipment. They don't know how to do it. It's a
Yeah.
time for us to make sure we carve out some of that, the busyness of what's online, and we carve out some of our own content into it.
Yeah, absolutely. YouTube is the second largest search engine. I mean, nobody thinks of it as a search engine, but that's what it is. I think Google's number
Yeah.
one, and then YouTube is like that's what people do. So like it's important to have a good presence. And I want you to consider the prices of these things because it may seem kind of expensive, but in reality, for instance, if you purchase that M1 Mac Mini, even with the screen and keyboard and mouse, it's still cheaper than the smartphone that's in your pocket right now, most likely.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're thinking about the cameras, they're about 1,400, 1,500 bucks a pop. That's still a really good price for a 4K camera. 4K camera. If you're looking at the new Sony SA3, it's like $3,000, and that's just a
Yeah.
DSLR camera. So be mindful about where you're going. Draw out a plan, and I would suggest that you reach out to Pastor Eman if you have any suggestions. Pastor, where can they reach? Where can they reach you if they're looking for help and assistance?
Um, you guys can put comments on here, and tag tag me if you can, or send a message to Icky, and I don't know how we can get my email out there as well. Um, if you can, that would be also good for. I'd be willing to answer any questions that they have. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but if I know the answer, I'll definitely help give any information that I have.
That rocks. None of us are experts. We're all just helping each other through this process, guys. Like what you need help with, we're trying to give you. What we need help with, we're hoping we get from you. And it's really just us getting better together. If you need any assistance or any help, obviously drop a comment in. We'll get it to Eman. Find him. Go to Kalejo's website. Go to Kalejo's IG. Visit their stuff on Facebook, and obviously you'll be able to connect with Pastor there.
Yep.
E-Man,
Perfect.
thank you so much for your time, bro. It was good to have you here, and it was good to see what you guys are doing to make your stuff rock online.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It was great to be here for sure.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday.